Oh, hey there, viewer. Sorry. Reading the story of San Francisco. Copyright 1955. Can't wait to see the next edition. I'm Greg Miller. This is Colin Moriarty. This is a PlayStation Conversation. Colin, PlayStation 3 comes out a year after the Xbox 360. Been trying to make up ground ever since. A new company says, or a new study from a new company. Probably not
an old company.
Well, we
has
don't
a new study.
How old do you think the company is?
I don't know, maybe a few decades.
1955, probably. Tell me what's happening right now with numbers of PlayStation 3s out in the wild.
Well, there was a report on Games Industry International, which is a website, that I guess got some data from a study, forecast, from International Data Corporation, which employs thousands of people. Their job is to basically do reports and studies for businesses.
Sure.
And in a report called Worldwide Video Game Entertainment Console Hardware and Packaged Software 2012 to 2016 forecast.
Rolls off the tongue, like Lincoln.
They say that PlayStation 3 has outshipped as of the end of December 2012 Xbox 360.
Outshipped, not outsold. Why do we care then?
Well, I think it's relevant for a few reasons. First of all, Sony never, ever, or rarely gives us sold to consumer numbers.
It's true.
And it's also unclear whether these numbers are part of the forecast or whether these numbers are derived from sources at Microsoft and from Sony. But I think it's interesting for a few for a few reasons, really. Number one, retailers wouldn't be ordering new manufactured consoles if there wasn't demand for them because they're not stupid. They want to sell things. So the fact that these are being manufactured still in greater quantities than Xbox 360 means that there is more demand for PlayStation 3 worldwide. Probably not in the United States, but worldwide. But moreover, I think it's just an interesting story because PlayStation 3 came out a year after Xbox 360 and has made up considerable ground on Xbox 360. So there's been parity for about a year or two with the two consoles, but it looks like PS3 might actually start to pull ahead in 2013.
Interesting. Do you think that we should have more studies like this? This is the big thing. You're talking about how Sony doesn't release numbers. Usually that's the big thing, especially as we move into the digital age. No one releases numbers unless they're saying, hey, here's this big milestone we hit. Like, right, Sony never talks about sales all that much for their games, but when Uncharted as a franchise sold, like, whatever it was, a couple million or whatever, they put out the thing saying, hey, this is how much we've sold, blah, blah, blah. Why don't companies do that more, you think? Why do we have to rely on studies that aren't from Sony, that aren't from Microsoft, that aren't just hard facts?
I don't know. I think Sony in particular is probably a little self-conscious of the fact that it's getting outsold in a major market like the United States by considerable numbers. We saw that even on Black Friday with PlayStation 3, which did very well, over 500,000 units, but was still outsold by about 200,000 units by Xbox 360. So they're always going to lose those numbers in a market like the United States, and perhaps their worldwide numbers haven't been developing as much parity until recently, so they don't develop those numbers. And plus, they're really not relevant. I mean, in the sense that, to the everyday consumer, even to me and you, it doesn't really matter how much these consoles sell, except for the fact that if the consoles sell better and you own a console, then you're going to get more games for it. So there is a reason to kind of want your console to sell more because then you get more support for it the long term, as opposed to having something like the, Atari Jaguar or something like that didn't sell very well, and so there were no games.
PlayStation Vita. Hoorays from your grave.
Right.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we're using these studies from somebody you've never heard of with really obnoxious titles. Hopefully, as things keep going, we'll get more and more hard numbers. And as soon as we do, we'll break it here in PlayStation Conversations on IGN.